Welcome on into the Aussie Rules for Football podcast. We've got another episode coming your way today. It's episode number 63 of season 2025. And today we're taking a look at AFLW. We're going to start off with our full round 2 review. We'll have a look at all 9 matches, best players, most important players, best teams, what's going right, what's going wrong. All of that from round 2 coming your way. We'll have a look at how our tips went, and we'll jump into our round 3 preview quickly at the end and go through all 9 matches coming up in round 3 this weekend. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button. Don't forget also to like. Don't forget to comment. All of that stuff. We do 2 podcast episodes every single week. Every Monday until December will be our AFL men's episode, and every Friday will be our AFLW episode. So make sure you're subscribed. Come back. Check out all the episodes. There's also plenty of other content over on YouTube. You might be already on YouTube, but if you're not, go check it out. There's going to be end-of-season review videos on every AFL men's team. There's going to be plenty of award season videos. There's plenty of other content coming out every single day, just about across somewhere, whether it's social media or YouTube. All Aussie Rules everywhere, so go check it out. Let's jump into the round 2 action. It started on Tuesday. Started on Saturday. Don't know what I'm talking about. Saturday afternoon football. It's in Victoria Park. It was Collingwood hosting GWS Giants. This was the first AFLW game I've been to this season. And it was a pretty good game. It was an interesting game because it was one that felt like, certainly watching it, that Collingwood were in control of a lot of the game but just couldn't score, especially early. It was looking a little bit ominous for Collingwood. GWS managed 3 goals in the first quarter thanks to Tani Evans, who had a fantastic first quarter to give them that really solid lead at quarter time by 10 points. They only managed 1 more goal for the rest of the game. That was early in the third through Caitlin Sahoy. Other than that, it was from that point, though. That was about 3 minutes into the third quarter. After that point, Collingwood won the game 21-1, outscoring GWS and coming home with a really good last quarter, kicking 2 goals through Sav Frederick and Grace Campbell. And that gave Collingwood that 8-point win. Wasted opportunities, no doubt. They were 2 goals 8 at 3-quarter time and losing by 5 points. So some inaccurate kicking certainly hurt the Pies, but not enough to cost them the match in the end. If we jump into some of the team stats from this game, as you can see, the team ratings are on your screen if you're watching this. If you're just listening, it was a Collingwood by about 12 points. Not a massive discrepancy. Pretty decent, solid win though. Disposal numbers were dead even. Inside 50s were only +1 for Collingwood. Clearances were won by GWS +8. Most of that through, all of that through stoppage clearances. Collingwood actually won the centre clearances. Contested footy went the way of the Pies. The turnover game, though, is the big one here. Collingwood had just 55 turnovers when they had about 70 last week in round 1. So they tidied that up a lot, and GWS had 68, so 13 extra turnovers. That's your game right there. Too many turnovers from the Giants in the end. Total marks, 54-35 in favour of Collingwood, so they also were marking the ball, controlling the ball a little bit better. Marks inside 50, another big important stat. GWS had just 3, Collingwood 11. Not always shots on goals, marks inside 50, but it certainly sets you up with a chance for a shot. Tackle numbers, Collingwood +7 in this one. So overall, I think Collingwood slightly edged them out in most facets, other than those stoppage clearances where GWS were really good. I just pressed the wrong button, don't mind me. The only multiple goal scorer was Tani Evans, who kicked 3 in that first quarter. Our league best and fairest votes, so our 3-2-1, which is similar to the Brownlow, but obviously the women's is just called the league best and fairest at the moment. It will probably change at some point and be named after someone, but for now, the votes for this one even, we've gone Brittany Benici for 3. 23 touches, 7 clearances was really good, as well as 8 tackles. Imogen Barnett in the ruck for Collingwood, really solid game from her. Her move to the ruck has really been, I think, a good move for Collingwood so far, allowing Sabrina Frederick to be more full-time forward. And 1 vote to Tani Evans for that first quarter where managed 3 goals. Maybe didn't do as much after that. Still had 13 touches, kicked 3 goals, played a good game. MVP, we do MVP votes every single match for every single team. So the winning team, top 5 players in our All Aussie Rules rating system get 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. And then for the losing team, they get half the votes, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we do that and we keep track of it. We've got a leaderboard. I don't think we'll have a leaderboard update this week, but after round 3, we will start to show the leaderboard after each round is complete. So for Collingwood, Lucy Cronin was absolutely outstanding in that backline role. A lot of intercepts, a lot of marks, controlled that backline really, really well. Imogen Barnett gets 8, as we said, in the ruck, really good role. 6 to Brittany Benici in inside mid role, really good. Ruby Schleicher, the captain, did suffer a concussion, so will be missing this week, but gets the 4 votes. And Michaela Can, the tackling machine, 13 tackles, gets the 2. For GWS, Tani Evans is the number 1 ranked player for them. 3 goals, 13 touches, 5 votes. Cambridge McCormick gets 4 votes for 16 touches in this one. Rebecca Beeson gets the 3. 22 disposals, 6 clearances, a really good performance there. Zali Goldsworthy gets the 2 for 15 touches, 9 tackles. And Sarah Howley on the wing gets her first votes in the MVP. 14 disposals in this one, was the 5th highest rated player for GWS. So Collingwood get their first win of the year. Giants stay on 0 wins after 2 matches. I don't see either of these 2 teams competing in finals this year, but yeah, Collingwood edged them in the end, and that's what we take from this game. Moving on to game number 2, and this was an absolute clinic put on by the Melbourne Demons. Fantastic performance from them at Casey Fields. Also Saturday afternoon game. Both teams coming off the win in round 1. Yeah, I guess we were going to find out whether St Kilda were the real deal. They came off a really good win round 1, but they couldn't back it up here. Melbourne absolutely demolished them. From the early moments of this game, by quarter time, it was 2-5 to 1-0, so still pretty close at that point, but just wasted opportunities from Melbourne. But they straightened up a little bit after that. They kicked 5 goals in the second quarter, kicked 2 in the third, and another 4 in the fourth. So they had a really good scoring end where they managed 9 out of their 13 goals. Meanwhile, St Kilda got 1 goal in the first quarter, 1 goal in the third quarter, didn't manage any other scoring. So it was certainly basically one-way traffic throughout most of this game. You look at the team rating there, 71-7-9 for Melbourne, 44-3-3 for St Kilda. They just weren't really in this match for too many moments of it. Melbourne ended up with plus 100 disposals, basically 24 extra inside 50s. They dominated centre clearances, plus 6. They dominated contested, uncontested. They controlled the turnover game, winning that by 10. It was just an absolute control of pretty much every facet of this game. And, yeah, the players' stats kind of show that as well. There was 3 multiple goal kickers for Melbourne. Taylor Harris got 4. From memory, they were all in the first half. I could be wrong. Eden Zanka and Georgia Gull both kicked 2 each. League best and fairest votes, we've gone Kate Hall with 3. 26 touches, 1 goal, 3. Could have been even bigger. 5 clearances. Kate did what Kate does best. plays a really, really good game of football here. And I think maybe Taylor Harris gets the 3. I think those two were clearly the best 2 players on the ground. Taylor Harris had 16 touches, 4 goals, 4. A little bit straighter in front of goal, could have been huge. And we've given 1 vote to Tyler Hanks, also of Melbourne Football Club. So our top 5 players, MVP votes for both teams. Sorry, I know what I'm talking about. Kate Hall gets the 10. She was the highest ranked player in our All Aussie Rules rating system for those 26 touches and a goal. Taylor Harris, no surprise, gets the 8. Paxi Paxman gets the 6 votes, 1 goal, 20 touches, as well as 2 goal assists. Tyler Hanks gets the 4. 4 votes, had 28 disposals in this one, as well as 12 tackles. Had a lot of the football and a lot of defensive work as well. And Eden Zanka gets 2 votes, 19 touches, 2 goals, 3 clearances. For St Kilda, they just didn't show up really in this one. 5 votes goes to Kyla Forbes for 11 disposals, but just good efficiency, I guess. 4 tackles, 148 metres gained. 4 to Tiana Smith, 20 disposals, 9 tackles, 6 clearances. Serene Watson gets the 3, 18 disposals in this one. 2 goes to Genomi Anderson, 10 touches and a goal, 4 clearances. And Rebecca Ott gets the 1 vote in the ruck, 4 clearances to go with 13 disposals. Overall, we take from this one, Melbourne is absolutely flying. This is what we expected to see from them last year, and for whatever reason, tough draw, rough start to the season. It never really eventuated for them last season, but this year they've come out absolutely flying. They're looking like they're ready to go. At the moment, you'd say they're certainly, from the 2 weeks we've seen, probably in the top 3 or 4 teams, certainly after 2 weeks. There's quite a few teams in that level below North Melbourne. I think right now you're looking at Melbourne, you're looking at Sydney. I think Adelaide, Brisbane, Hawthorn are still all in that range as well. So there's going to be a lot of fighting for top 4 spots this season. Melbourne's start, though, has been pretty much perfect. Absolutely smoked St Kilda here, and that is huge for them. St Kilda, I don't think they're a top 8 team. After round 1, we thought maybe they would be. Pre-season, I didn't think they would be. They played really well against Adelaide week 1. This was a bit of a reality check. We'll see where they're at this week, whether they can bounce back, because it's going to be an important game for them. If they lose too many more over the next few weeks, they'll have too much work to do to catch up, I think. Anyway, that's that game. We'll move on to game number 3 of the weekend. It was Gold Coast Sydney, and this was another thrashing. Sydney Swans are absolutely flying. This was up on the Gold Coast, People First Stadium, Saturday afternoon. This was the Chloe Malloy show. Another full forward role that domination from a player. This one was over pretty early as well. 2-0 in the first quarter, and then by quarter time they were up by 49 points, the Swans, and it was pretty much all over Red Rover. 3-quarter time it extended out to 67 and then ended up being that 82-point margin where Sydney just looked like they could do no wrong. Team rating has them plus 38 basically in this, an absolute domination. You look at the team stats and it also says that. Doubled the inside 50 count, plus 25, plus 112 disposals in favour of Sydney. They just had the football all day long, plus 10 clearances. Plus 34 contested, plus 76 uncontested, 8 less turnovers. They had more of the ball, they looked after it better, and took reasonably good use of their ball, their opportunities as well. Chuck in the fact that they led tackles, they had 18 tackles inside 50. Sydney basically did no wrong in this game. Multiple goal kickers, there was 4 of them. Chloe Malloy kicked 7, equaled the AFLW record. Montana Ham and Holly Cooper both kicked 2 for Sydney. Meanwhile, Darcy Davies kicked 2 for Gold Coast, 2 out of their 3 goals. League best and fairest, I think, goes Chloe Malloy 3. 19 touches, 7 goals, 3. Absolutely outstanding performance. Laura Gardner, I've gone with 2 votes, 38 disposals in this one, and kicked a goal. 10 tackles, 7 clearances. Could well get 3 votes. I think it goes to Chloe Malloy because she kicked 7. But Laura Gardner, outstanding performance as well. And Montana Ham, 27 touches, 2 goals. There were so many good players in this game for Sydney. Like Zippy Fish had 27 touches. Hurley had 23. Lucy McAvoy had 22. They just controlled this game throughout most of it. And their best players absolutely stood up. MVP votes in this one. We've gone Chloe Malloy. 10 was the highest rated player on the ground. No surprise that Laura Gardner gets the 8 votes for that outstanding performance. 6 goes to Tanya Kennedy. 19 touches, 10 tackles, 3 clearances. Sophia Hurley gets the 4. 23 touches in this one. And Montana Ham, as we said before, 2 goals from 27 touches and a clearance was outstanding. Somehow Zippy Fish doesn't get any MVP votes, but was also outstanding and right now the absolute walkaway favourite to win that Rising Star, because what a start to her career it has been for Zippy Fish, one of the best named players in the game. So Gold Coast, we don't expect too much from them this season. They've started average. It's not looking like it's going to get much better for them anytime soon, in all honesty. But, yeah, last year was rough. This year's probably going to be just as rough, if not worse. They're probably, you would imagine, going to be in that fight for the wooden spoon come the end of the year. Sydney, they're flying. I think a lot of people were saying that it's such a great rise from them. I don't see it like that. 2 years ago, they played finals. Last year, they were injury hampered. A lot of things went wrong for them. This is just their bounce back to where they should have been. We'll see how they go against genuine teams. I think the 2 teams they beat so far are not going to be playing finals. Richmond don't look great so far this year. And Gold Coast, we expect to be pretty low. So once they start playing some better teams, like this weekend, they are going up against a team that's 0-2, but it's Geelong, who I think is better than an 0-2 team at the moment. So we'll see this week how they go. They probably should win this week, and then we'll see how they go against the really good teams in coming weeks after that. So that's how we see it. I just realised I didn't do my MVP votes for Gold Coast, but 5 goes to Charlotte Wilson, just the 11 touches, but was pretty efficient with the ball. 4 votes goes to Mira Gervin, 13 touches. 3 votes to Lucy Single, 17 touches, 5 clearances. 2 votes to Nia McLaughlin, 20 disposals in this one, and 1 to Charlie Rowbottom, 22 disposals, 3 clearances. Moving on to the next one. This was the Saturday evening game, and this was Brisbane travelling over to the west to play the Fremantle Dockers. And another game that was an absolute blowout. Brisbane showed up, Fremantle did not. A very disappointing game for the Dockers, I think, after a really good win against Port Adelaide on the road in week 1. Brisbane were a bit disappointing round 1. They've completely swapped roles here, and the Lions have won by 70 points. Dockers kicked the first goal, and then all of a sudden, by halftime, it was looking really shaky for them. Brisbane up 30 at halftime, extended it out by three-quarter time, and then kicked another 5 goals to 1 in the final quarter. Absolutely smoked them. 10 goals 2 Brisbane kicked in that second half, kicking 5-1 and then 5-2 in the last 2 quarters. Absolutely controlled this one. A fantastic bounce-back performance by the Lions. Team rating plus 16 on Fremantle, so pretty solid compared to most matchups this weekend so far. Like, they've all been kind of blowouts, but a really good performance here by the Brisbane Lions. plus 40 odd disposals, plus 27 inside 50s. That is a huge discrepancy. No, I mean, Brisbane kicked really straight. 17-3 is incredibly accurate kicking. So expected score would be less than that, but a really fantastic return on like going inside 50, 49 inside 50s for 17 goals is really, really good efficiency. They didn't have a huge amount of shots. They did, but not in comparison to 17 goals. It's not like they had 17 goals, 15 or something. Typically 20 scores in a game. You're looking more about the 75 score total. So they're plus 30 probably on where they could have been or maybe should have been, which is blowing this one out. They were the better team, there's no doubt about it. They were plus 5 centre clearances. Contested footy was pretty close, but it was all uncontested footy for Brisbane. High turnover game for both teams. Yeah, that's pretty much the story of the game, I guess, is the amount of efficiency Brisbane had in this one. Multiple goal scorers all the way of Brisbane. Courtney Hodder, 3 goals. Ruby Spark, 2. Taylor Smith, 2. Ola O'Dwyer. Ellie Hampson, Nisa Dooley, and Dakota Davidson, all kicking 2 goals apiece. So a lot of multiple goal scorers, a lot of sharing the goals around. A really fantastic performance by the Lions. League best and fairest, we're going 3 to Ali Anderson. Absolutely fantastic performance again. 25 disposals in this one, 3 clearances. 2, Hazeley McCarthy was clearly Fremantle's best player. I don't know when you get smacked by this much if you get votes, but I think clearly will have been in front of the umpires a fair bit. 28 disposals, 7 clearances, kicked a goal, 509 metres gained, was a standout performance, whereas Brisbane were like a very even performance from many players. Aisling McCarthy absolutely carried the load for the Dockers. And 1 goes to Talia Hickey in the ruck. 6 clearances, 16 touches, 25 hit-outs. Fantastic return from her in this one. MVP votes, 10 goes to Taylor Smith. 13 touches, 2 goals. 8 goes to Ali Anderson. We've already gone over those numbers. 25 touches and 3 clearances. Talia Hickey gets the 6. We've gone over those numbers. 4 goes to Brianna Cohen for 14 touches, 7 tackles, and 2 goes to Natalie Grider, 17 disposals in this one. For the losing team, the Fremantle Dockers, 5 goes, as we said, to Aisling McCarthy, clearly their best player on the day. 4 to Kiara Bowers, 18 touches, 12 tackles, 6 clearances. 3 to Emma O'Driscoll. Let me just find the numbers of Emma. 13 touches and a clearance. 2 to Gabrielle Newton. 21 disposals, 2 clearances, and 1 vote to Megan Kaufman. 16 touches and a goal. Disappointing day for the Fremantle Dockers. After, as I said, a really good week 1, they really dropped off here and had a bad performance. And it doesn't get easier for them. They do have to play North Melbourne this week coming up. So that is as tough an assignment as you can get. Brisbane into North Melbourne is not a fun run. And they need to start winning games again. Pre-season, when we did our little summary of the schedule, Fremantle were a team that had a pretty tough draw. I expected that they would improve this year and make up for it. But they're going to have to put in better performances than they did on the weekend. Brisbane, they bounced back after a disappointing loss week 1, but winning by 70 points here is a massive percentage boost. They have Carlton coming up this weekend. That is another huge chance for them to get another win and really get their season rolling after that first week disappointment. So look for that, Brisbane, really to stamp their authority in that top 4 over the next few weeks, potentially. Next up, we go to the next game. And this was the Saturday night fixture. It was a low-scoring affair after basically quarter time or so. Um, it was a weird sort of game because Hawthorn kicked 2 goals in the first quarter, only managed one more after that. Um, there was certainly a lot of misses on the Carlton side of fence in the first half, kicking 0-6 at half time to only trail by 11 points though. Carlton then managed the first two of the second half, one in the third and one in the fourth, which got them to the point where they were level with about 10, 15 minutes to go in the game. And then Hawthorn kind of just eased their way in front with a couple behinds and then ended up kicking the final goal of the match to win the game with a couple minutes to go. End up winning by 8 points. Team ratings, as you can see, is very close, 54.2 to Hawthorn, 53.68 for Carlton. I think Carlton were the more impressive of the two teams, in all honesty. Hawthorn were probably expected to win this one reasonably comfortably, and I think a really good performance from Carlton is what we saw. Disposal numbers are in favour of Hawthorn plus 20, plus 7 inside 50s for Hawthorn. They dominated clearances plus 10, most of that stoppage clearances. Contested footy was pretty close, uncontested footy pretty close. Turnovers, Hawthorn did control that area plus 4. The mark side of things went the way of Carlton, as did the tackles. In the end, both teams wasted chances. It was 3 goals 12 to 2 goals 10. I think Hawthorn was slightly the better team in this one. I don't know if they were outstanding though. Moving into player stats, there was no multiple goal kickers, so we'll jump into the BNF votes. 3 votes we've gone to Emily Bates, 25 touches and a goal with 5 clearances. 2 to Harriet Cordner from Carlton, 22 disposals in this one. And 1 vote to Lucy Wales in the ruck, 19 touches, 8 tackles, 11 hitouts, 3 clearances. Fantastic performance there. MVP votes for the winning team. Lucy Wales was the highest rated player, gets the 10. 8 goes to Eliza West for 22 disposals, 2 clearances. 6 votes goes to Mackenzie Erdley, that is, 13 touches, missed a couple shots, but played that backup ruck role. 2 votes goes to Noah Allen for 18 disposals and a clearance, and 2 to Tilly Lucas Rod, 23 disposals and a clearance for Lucas Rod. For the losing team, 5 goes to Harriet Cordner, 22 disposals. For Brianne Harrington, a really good ruck roll, I guess. There, 13 touches, 8 hitouts, 8 tackles. 3 votes to Keely Shearer, 18 disposals, 11 tackles. 2 votes goes to Madeline Gurin, 11 disposals and a goal. And 1 vote to Yasmin Dersma, who ran around on the wing, 17 disposals in this one. What's that mean for both of these teams? Really big win for Hawthorn. 2-0. They've won 2 tight games. They go up against the Bulldogs, who are coming off a win this week. So a really big game again. They're expected to beat the Bulldogs. They could well start 3-0 here. I don't know. They've only just got over the line both weeks. The win against Brisbane was a really good win. This one, I think, was a little bit less exciting, a little bit less impressive, but they get the 4 points. And Carlton, they're 1-1. They obviously beat Collingwood week 1. They have Brisbane this week. It's going to be a tough one for them. They're probably a team that weren't expected to finish top 8 this year. And I think they've shown better signs than maybe some people expected from them so far this year. I don't think they're going to be a top 8 team. I think they'll probably be in about that 9 to 12 range based on what we've seen so far this year. On to the next one. It was Sunday football. I went along to this game as well. It was Richmond Bulldogs at Icon Park. And a really good performance from the Bulldogs is basically the long and the short of it. The first half, I felt like Bulldogs were in control of the game, even though Richmond did hit the front midway through the second quarter when Caitlin Grazier kicked a goal, but then the Doggies answered back with two quick ones to lead at half time, and then throughout most of the third quarter, scoreboard was tight, but I still felt like the Bulldogs were kind of in some ways in control of the game. Like it was level for a big chunk of that third quarter. Doggies got a goal late in the third to give them that 7-point lead at three-quarter time, and then the Dogs just ran away with it, especially early or midway through that last quarter, getting quick goals back to back to extend it out to 21 points in the end. Pretty comfortable win. I don't think they were dominant, but I think they were certainly the better team, at least to my eye on the day. Team rating suggests as much as well, 59.43. Not a huge rating there, but the 39.75 for Richmond's pretty low. So they really struggled to get any control and momentum in this game, I think, is what I saw at least. Disposal count plus 50 for the Dogs, plus 15 inside 50s for the Doggies. They won clearances plus 6. They won contested football plus 16. Uncontested plus 20. Plus 30, sorry. They had an extra 27 marks. It was just a flat-out really good performance from the Bulldogs, and Richmond just looked like they're not at the level they were last year, which was something we were a little bit worried about after losing a really good player, not really gaining much, I don't think, in the off-season. So no multiple goal kickers in this one, so league best and fairest votes. 3 we've gone with Isabel Pritchard. Had 19 touches, a goal, 7 clearances, was crucial in their performance. 2 votes to Isabella Grant, 17 disposals, 5 tackles, and 1 to Monique Conti. As always, an absolute bull in there in her 75th AFLW game, 21 touches, 12 tackles, 5 clearances. Tried her heart out all day to no avail. MVP votes for the Dogs. Isabella Grant was the highest rated player, gets the 10. 8 to Isabel Pritchard. 6 to Alice Edmonds in the ruck. Absolutely dominated the ruck all day. 33 hitouts in this one for Edmonds. 4 votes goes to Kaylee Kimber, 12 disposals, 5 tackles, and 2 votes goes to Riley Wilcox on the wing, 13 disposals, 256 metres gained. Really good performance there. For the Tigers in a losing affair, Mon Conti was their highest rated. 21 touches, 12 tackles, 5 clearances, and gets the 5 votes. Poppy Kelly in the ruck, 15 touches, 18 hitouts. Gabby Seymour gets the 3 for 14 disposals in this one. 2 goes to Ellie McKenzie, 18 disposals, 5 clearances. And the 1 vote goes to Grace Egan, 16 disposals, 5 clearances. In the end, Doggies were just too good. They've done what many people probably didn't expect them to do early season, get that win. I think they showed some good signs last year. It was a weird season for them where they either got smacked by teams or they were beating teams. It kind of felt how most of their season went. So they'll be hoping to get rid of all those smackings, still win the games that they were winning, and I don't know if they'll be there to compete in finals, but they're certainly moving their way up, I think, and they've shown some really positive signs, and this was one of them. Richmond, they're off to an 0-2 start. Their percentage isn't great. They've got Dreamtime up in Darwin this weekend against the Bombers. It's not getting easier for them. I think the Bombers are a better team than the Bulldogs, so the Tigers are really going to have to improve on their performance if they are going to compete this week. Moving on to the next game, and this was one of the most incredible games of football you will see in terms of individual brilliance. As we all know, Garner and Riddell are absolute freak shows, and they show it again here. Those two just put on absolute clinics week in, week out. They absolutely smacked Port Adelaide. 75-point winners. A lot of damage done in the first half, and it just continued to get worse. Garner had 4 goals by half time, as well as like 15 odd touches, and then it just kept getting worse and worse for Port Adelaide, who only managed 2 goals for the game. And after finishing, making a prelim final last year, their season started really poorly this year. Still plenty of time to turn that around, but they are definitely going to have to find a way to turn it around quickly. The numbers are all going to be Kangaroos' way here. Plus 80 disposals, or plus 90 disposals, sorry, for Kangaroos. Plus 14 inside 50s. So not huge discrepancy in inside 50s. But in terms of converting it into goals, even shots massively in North Melbourne's favour. Clearances were actually level. Plus 18 contested, plus 70 uncontested. 13 less turnovers for the Kangaroos is a massive difference there. They just looked after the ball. They had control and they didn't give it up. And that's basically the story of the game. Multiple goal kickers. There was only 2. One of them for the Kangaroos. 6 goals to Jasmine Garner. Absolute freak show. Gemma Houghton got 2 goals. Both goals for Port Adelaide. Moving on to League Best and Fairest. This is crazy because, I mean, Jasmine Garner had 31 touches, 6 goals, 3 clearances. So clearly we're giving the 3 votes there. But Ash Riddell's numbers are also absolutely unreal. 43 touches, 7 clearances, and a goal, and wasn't best on field. That is ridiculous. 43 touches is the equal most amount of disposals in an AFLW game, and doesn't get the 3 votes. Could get them. Like, I wouldn't be disgusted if Ash Riddell got the 3 votes here. Those 2 were clearly the best 2 players on the ground. Arguably the best 2 players in the competition right now. And Jasmine Garner, though, 31 touches and 6 goals. That is ridiculous numbers, what she's putting up this year already. The final series last year was like Jasmine Garner's like crowning piece of absolute brilliance. But what Garner's already doing this season is absolutely freakish. Mia King, we're going with a 1 vote. So far off those top 2, probably was their 3rd best player on the field, though. MVP votes, no surprise, Jasmine Garner was the highest rated player. Potentially one of the highest rated AFLW games by an individual we've ever seen. I haven't got numbers all the way back. I'm working my way back to get a backlog. Certainly the highest, I think, that there's been over last year and this year, which is the 2 seasons I have a full record of. 8 goes to Ash Riddell. Fantastic performance. We've gone through that. 6 goes to Tessa Boyd. Been in the news a little bit this week as Tom Boyd's sister. 16 touches. Played a really good game. Ruby Tripodi, 19 touches, 2 clearances. And Erica O'Shea gets the 18 disposals and the 2 votes. For Port Adelaide, the losing team, 5 votes goes to Ella Heads, 15 touches, 3 clearances. 4 votes goes to Indy Tahu, 14 disposals. 3 goes to Abby Dowrick, the inside mid, 19 touches, 2 clearances. 2 votes goes to Ashley Woodland, 14 disposals, 2 clearances, 7 tackles. And 1 vote goes to Tegan Gurmach, 13 touches, 2 clearances. Kangaroos flying as we expected. They're going to be very, very tough to beat this year. I think most people are probably expecting that they could be undefeated again this year. From what we've seen so far this year, that wouldn't surprise me. They are certainly as good as they were last year, from what I can see so far. They're absolutely flying, and you'd imagine they should be too good for Fremantle based on what we saw last weekend from them. This weekend, Port Adelaide, they've started poorly. They're currently 18th on the ladder. They played in a prelim last year, so they're going to want to turn that around quick smart. They get a perfect opportunity this week against the Gold Coast, who arguably are one of the teams in the running for the wooden spoon, you'd think. So Port Adelaide need to bounce back, and they need to bounce back really well this week. I would imagine they will. They need to start getting some injured players back as well, but it's going to be an important game for them coming up this weekend. On to the next one. It was at Windy Hill. It was the Bombers. It was the Eagles. And it was a tight finish. 5-point winners were the Bombers in the end. They kicked the first one. The only goal for them for the first quarter. Bonnie Toogood in the first minute and a half. And then with about a minute to go in the first quarter, Abigail Bushby for West Coast got that one back and it was level. Eagles kicked the only goal of the second quarter to have the lead at halftime. Bombers got a late goal in the third quarter, once again through Bonnie Toogood, to give them the lead at three-quarter time. And then it opened up a little bit in that final quarter. West Coast did manage to hit the front with about 10 minutes to go in the match before Sophie Alexander kicked a late goal to give the Bombers the lead by 5 points, and they held on for the win. There was, basically a minute to go when Sophie kicked that goal. So a massive win for them. It was a game they were expected to win, and they got the win. They weren't outstanding. They weren't as good as perhaps I thought they might have been in this one. Or maybe West Coast are just slightly better than I thought they were. But in the end, the Bombers win it. Team rating +4 basically for the Bombers. So I think they were the better team on the day. A lot of the numbers, though, were even or even in Eagles' favour. You look at disposals +3 for the Eagles. More of a handball game, whereas the Bombers were a slightly more kicky team. One extra inside 50 for the Eagles for the match. But you look at scores, it was 4-2 for the Eagles to 4-7 of the Bombers. So you'd think that Bombers maybe wasted some chances. They absolutely dominated it out of the clearance game, 30-13, 27-9 from stoppage clearances. They just dominated that facet of the game. Turnover numbers for both teams were quite low, 58 for the Bombers, 53 for the Eagles. So the game was a well-controlled possession game throughout most of it. And in the end, the Bombers just did enough, is basically the long and the short of it. League, what else have we got? We'll look at multiple goal scorers first. There was 2, 1 for each team. Bonnie Toogood kicked the Bombers' first 2 goals, and Kayla Daglish for the Eagles kicked 2 goals. League best and fairest, Amy Gaylor, we've gone with 3, 21 touches, 8 tackles, 6 clearances. 2 to Georgia Nanscarwin. I've spelt that name incorrectly. There is no R in there, so just ignore that. I spelled it wrong twice on the one sheet, so good from me. 25 touches, though, 5 clearances, 8 tackles. Really good game from Georgia. And I've gone Bonnie Toogood, 1 vote, 13 touches, 2 goals. You might say the Eagles lost by 5 points and they get no votes, and that's probably fair enough. I think the clear best players were all Bombers players. I think West Coast were more of a team effort overall. MVP votes, Amy Gaylor once again gets the 10. 8 to Georgia Nanscarwin. 6 to Bonnie Toogood, so the same way my BNF voting went. Then 4 to Elise Gamble. Let me find the numbers for Gamble. Just 9 touches. Looked after the ball really well, though. 209 metres gained. And 2 to Madison Prospakis. 22 touches, 4 clearances in this one. For the losing team, 5 votes to Liz McGrath for the Eagles. 14 touches, 31 hit-outs, 2 clearances. Really good game in the ruck. Was clearly the best ruckman, although it didn't really help the Eagles because they were dominated in clearances. 4 goes to Charlotte Thomas, 16 touches. 3 votes goes to, let me find the stats, Emma Swanson, 19 touches, 3 tackles. 2 votes to Ella Roberts, nowhere near as effective as Ella was in round 1. Had 21 touches, 3 clearances. Still a really good game, though. And 1 vote goes to Michaela Weston, 13 disposals, 2 clearances. Bombers, they got the points. That's probably all they needed in the end. They go 2-0 for the year. They head up for Dreamtime this week against the Tigers. They have an opportunity to win that one and really, really set their season up. If they start the year 3-0, they played finals last year. I would expect they will play finals again this year. I don't think they're a top 4 team. I think they're probably in that maybe 5th if they can put together a good season, but certainly should be probably top 8, I think, from what we've seen so far. West Coast, they're 1-1. I still don't think they're quite ready for the big dogs. They're a team that could play finals this year. They're probably going to be in that 7-12 range, I think, on the ladder. Where exactly that shapes up, we're probably going to find out a bit more about them this week. They've got St Kilda. If they beat St Kilda, finals is definitely an option. If they were to lose to St Kilda this week, all of a sudden you're thinking finals might be a bit of a stretch for the Eagles in 2025. Moving on to the final game of the round. It was Adelaide. It was Geelong over in Adelaide territory. And the Crows won thanks to an absolutely outstanding last quarter. They were trailing by 2 points at 3-quarter time. They end up winning by 38 points. An absolute demolition in the final quarter. Little bit of a bad trend for Geelong. They've been absolutely smacked 2 weeks in a row in the final quarters. Geelong didn't kick a goal after half-time. Their last goal of the match was 3 or just under 4 minutes into the second quarter. And from that point on, it was basically one-way traffic. Adelaide kicked 9 goals 4 to 0-6 after that point. All obviously Geelong didn't kick a goal in the last half, but Adelaide kicked 9, 2 in the third quarter, and then 7 in the last. It was just floodgate stuff. The first 3 of those came in a stretch of about 2 minutes halfway through the quarter, and then it was just a few more sprinkled towards the end. I don't know what to say about it other than a really good finish off from Adelaide. They needed it. Geelong are letting themselves down. They could be certainly 1-1. They've played 2 really tough teams, don't get me wrong, Kangaroos and Adelaide. But this is one that certainly was winnable, and it fell apart pretty quickly for them. We look at the team ratings. Adelaide only a +7. They won the game by 38 points. Usually a 38-point win would suggest more of a 12 to 15-point range at least in the differences between teams. So that tells you that Geelong were pretty good across the board, just not quite good enough for long enough. Plus 20 odd disposals for Geelong. Geelong also had 9 extra inside 50s and kicked 7 less goals. So tells you a lot there. Clearance numbers were pretty level, +2 for Geelong. Contested football was won by Adelaide slightly, but uncontested was all Geelong. Turnover game was very close between both teams. Yeah, just a weird one. In the end, we look at multiple goal scorers, as we always do. There was a few of them. For Adelaide, Chelsea Randall kicked 3, and then Danielle Ponta, Eloise Jones, and Caitlin Gould all kicked 2 each. For the Cats, it was just Aisling Maloney kicking 2. League best and fairest votes, 3 to Ebony Marinoff. Another massive performance there. 31 disposals, 10 tackles, 2 clearances. It's very Ebony Marinoff game. Absolutely tackling machine, winning lots of the football. No doubt about it. Georgie Prespakis, we've given 2 votes to, 30 disposals, 9 clearances. Absolutely dominated that clearance game. And 1 vote to Danielle Ponta, 15 touches, 2 goals, 8 tackles. MVP-wise, Eloise Jones was the highest rated player, 15 touches, 2 goals, 2 clearances. Danielle Ponta with 15 touches, 2 goals, gets the 8 votes. Ebony Marinoff gets the 6 votes for the performance from Nofi. Caitlin Gould, 2 goals from 10 touches, gets the 4. And Niam Kelly gets 17 disposals, 3 clearances, and 2 MVP votes. For the losing team, it's Geelong. Rebecca Webster was their highest rated player, 27 disposals, a clearance. Georgie Prespakis, 30 touches, 9 clearances. 3 votes goes to Aisling Maloney, 10 touches, 2 goals, 3. So really some inaccurate kicking hurt there. 2 votes goes to Claudia Gunchaka, 13 disposals for the defender. And Piper Dunlop in the ruck gets the 1 vote, 8 disposals, 12 hitouts, 2 clearances. So that's all 9 games looked at. What that means for both of these teams before we jump into how our tips went. Adelaide, they're now 1-1. Their percentage is slightly above normal, above even. GWS next week, who's a team that they're certainly expected to beat here for the Crows. So a really good opportunity to get their season really rolling after that slow start against the Saints. For the Cats, their season doesn't get easier. They go up against the undefeated Sydney Swans this week. This season is starting to look dangerously like last year for them. It's been a tough start to their year, obviously, playing some really top 4 teams from last year. And now they have to play a team that's looking like a top 4 team this year. But if they're not careful, they're going to be way too far behind the 8 ball, just like they were last year, and have too much work to do. So they need to turn that around quick, smart. Our tips for the week, we got Collingwood right. Obviously, the margin wasn't actually that far off. Collingwood won by 8, so we're pretty close. Demons, we were nowhere near the margin, but we got the right result. Same story for Sydney. They won by a lot more than 20. We got the Dockers wrong. That's a hand up on us. Dockers let me down. I had a bit of faith in them this season, but that one was a disappointing one. Hawthorn won by 8 points. We get this one wrong as well. The Tigers have just been disappointing. They lost by 21 points in this one to the Dogs. Then we get the rest right. Kangaroos, we got right. Bombers, we get right. And Adelaide, thanks to a last quarter flourish, also correct. So we go 7 of 9 this week. We're 13 of 18 for the year. So we're not doing too bad. We're going to jump into a quick preview of this weekend's games, and we'll have our tips for round 3 right after that. So we kick off on Friday night with a dream time at TIO Stadium in Darwin. It's the Tigs, it's the Bombers, 2 of Victoria's powerhouse clubs going at each other. And the Tigers are on the downfall. The Bombers are on the up. Both teams did play finals last year just to lose. They both lost elimination finals. The last time they met was late last year in, obviously, the corresponding match. I think it was, let me just double check. Yeah, round 9 last year. So a little bit later in the season. But it was a draw. 42 apiece. It was a cracking game. Absolute ripper game. The time before, Essendon won by 17, which was in 2023. And back in 2022, the Tigers won by 2 points. From what we've seen so far this year, you'd have to think Bombers will go in pretty strong favourites and be tough to beat. They're 2-0. They dominated GWS round 1. They got the job done against West Coast last week. Meanwhile, Richmond played okay against Sydney, losing by 20, but losing by 21 points to the Doggies last weekend was a bit disappointing. They need to turn their season around. If there are any chance to make finals, they're going to have to win quite a few games coming up. This is one they can't afford to lose. Meanwhile, the Bombers, they're certainly looking at a top 8 team at the moment. And a win this week against the Tigers, as we kind of expect to see, would only solidify that one. Moving on to the Saturday games, we've got GWS against the Crows. This will be at Henson Park in Sydney. Adelaide, massively short-priced favourites. No real surprise with that, I don't think, judging from what we've seen this year. Crows, I mean, they haven't been spectacular. They lost to St Kilda week 1. They only played really one good quarter on the weekend, but it was enough to get past Geelong. GWS, though, they got smacked by the Bombers, and then last week they lost to Collingwood. Not in convincing fashion, but by 8 points in a game where Collingwood certainly looked in control for most of it. And we don't expect much from Collingwood, so it's not a great sign for the Giants. You'd have to think that this is one that Adelaide probably will control. They met last year in round 7 and the Crows won by 64 points. They met in round 4 of 2023 and the Crows won by 69 points. And they met in 2022 and the Crows won by 96 points. So they have a really, really consistently good record against the Giants to the Crows, and it's going to be very, very difficult for the Giants to be competitive in this game, I think. So we'll probably be just straight tipping Adelaide, I would imagine. Moving on to the next game. This one's at RSEA Park. St Kilda beat Eagles. Saturday afternoon, St Kilda going in favourites. Not that surprising. They've been pretty solid. Both teams 1-1. Back-to-back weeks for West Coast to be playing in Melbourne. They played, obviously, Windy Hill last week. This week they're playing at RSEA Park. So a couple road games in a row. I think potentially they stayed in Melbourne. St Kilda, really good week 1. Beat Adelaide. Really, really average week 2, getting pumped by Melbourne. So this is a big game for them, a really big game. Eagles, they were good against Gold Coast. Granted, Gold Coast aren't expected to do too much this year, so read into that what you will. But they were solid against the Bombers last week, the Eagles. So I think they're a team that potentially could be on the improve again this season. This is a big game for them. Last time they met, the Eagles did win by 2 points, which was back in round 4, 2022. That was season 6. We're now in season 10, so it's been a while. The time before that, the Saints won by 56 points, which was in 2021. So, pardon me, no recent history between these two teams. Really. It's a big game for both clubs. The winner really solidifies their chances of finals. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but the loser is in a bit of a pickle, I think, and probably might be too much to come back from, being that they're not one of the better teams. They're teams that are going to be scraping into the 8 if they do. So games like this are very, very important for both teams. Next up, we got Geelong Sydney. This is probably game of the round down at GMHBA Stadium. Make sure you tune into this one. I think this will be an absolute cracker. Chloe Malloy is absolutely flying. Laura Gardner's dominating in the midfield. Sibby Fish, what a start to her career off the back line. This Sydney team is really exciting. Meanwhile, Geelong, they need this win. They're 0-2. They need to win. I think it's going to probably start with basically dead level in terms of odds for both teams. Geelong could well be 2-0. Up until three-quarter time, both weeks they've been in it, just down to Kangaroos and just ahead of Adelaide, and then got blown out both times. I don't expect to see that happen again here. They need to win this. They have a very, very good team. They need to start showing that by winning games of football. So a big game for them coming up. Meanwhile, Sydney, they've already shown this year that they're a good team and they're going to win a lot of games. So they win this one on the road against the Cats. You can mark them almost down for a top 4 spot. If they lose, it's not the end of the world. There's still a lot of football to go for them. I don't think they have the hardest draw of all time. They do have some big games. Like they definitely play Kangaroos. Can't remember exactly their whole schedule, but these two teams met last year once, and Geelong won it by 3 points. Obviously, Sydney had a lot of injuries last season. In 2023, Geelong won by 27 points, and in 2022, in season 7, Geelong won by 75. So it's been getting closer and closer, and this one I think might be the one that Sydney get over the line on. You'd have to think on what we've seen, Sydney are probably the team to beat in this one, but I wouldn't back them with any amount of confidence, because I think this will be game of the round, an absolute cracker. Tune into it. I genuinely believe it will be a great game of football. Next up, Port Adelaide Gold Coast, sorry. Probably less of an exciting game. Currently 18th and 17th on the ladder. This is Alberton Oval. Saturday evening, Port Adelaide need this win. They need this win more than anything, really. Both teams obviously 0-2. Gold Coast, we didn't expect much from this year. and they're kind of playing about that level. Got smacked last week by Gold Coast. They are Gold Coast by Sydney. Whereas Port Adelaide, they've had a very disappointing start to their year. Losing at home to Fremantle and then getting absolutely pummeled by the Kangaroos last week, which last week you completely forgive, but to be 0-2, worst percentage in the competition after 2 weeks, they need a really good performance here. They have the class, they have some really good young talent that just hasn't perhaps lived up to the name so far this year, but I think we expect to see them bounce back, and I would be very, very shocked if the Power didn't bounce back in this one. They met last year in round 9 and the Power won it by 34 points. 2023, they played out a draw in round 8, and back in 2022, the Suns won by 14 points. I am fully invested in the fact that Port Adelaide should win this one. Gold Coast just haven't shown me enough over the last couple of seasons to suggest that they're capable of winning many games of football. Moving on to Saturday night game, and this is actually all of a sudden, I think, shaping up to be an okay game. The odds have Hawthorn heavy favourites, but Bulldogs were quite good last week, and I think that we can't completely write them off in this game. Hawthorn obviously have started the year well, 2-0, beating Brisbane by 4 points, Carlton by 8 points. It was, I don't think it was an outstanding win last week by them, is what I'm thinking. And meanwhile, Bulldogs, they lost to Melbourne week 1, who are absolutely flying, and then beat Richmond last week, who I don't think are going that well, but nonetheless, I think Hawthorn should be favourites and should probably win this game, but I expect Bulldogs to put up a lot better fight than the market suggests. I wouldn't be that surprised to see Bulldogs fighting for bottom range of the top 8, like 7, 8, 9, 10 this season. If they were to upset Hawthorn here, that would be absolutely huge. I don't know if it will happen, but it would be huge. These two teams last met in 2023. Hawthorn won it by 7 points. In 2022, they met and the Dogs won by 30 points. So make of that what you will. Hawthorn should be favourites, I think, but I would not back against the Dogs with too much confidence in this game, just because I think they're better than a lot of people think they are. Moving on to Sunday football. First up, we've got Collingwood, Melbourne. This will be at Victoria Park. And no surprise that Melbourne will be the short-priced favourites. Collingwood lose their captain to concussion. And Melbourne, they have a couple outs themselves. Obviously, Olivia Purcell, who's been good this year, is out. Melbourne sitting top of the ladder 2-0, beating Bulldogs and then St Kilda, and only conceded a total of 3 goals in those 2 games. Meanwhile, Collingwood, they lost to Carlton in week 1 before beating GWS in week 2. I don't see how they're going to have the scoring power to go with a team like Melbourne, who have been defending really well, but also scoring really well. So on paper, it certainly looks like this will be one-way traffic in the way of Melbourne. I would imagine they'll probably win quite comfortably. They met last game of last season. Last game? It was either the last game or second last. I think it was the last game of last season. Melbourne won it by 47 points, controlled that game quite comfortably. They met in 2023. Melbourne won by 42 points. Before that, you got to go back to 2021. For the last time they played, Collingwood won that one by 35. Melbourne should just be too strong, I think, across the board here. It's hard to see a world where Collingwood genuinely compete across 4 quarters with one of the teams that is absolutely flying. Now we head over to the west, and it's Fremantle North Melbourne at Fremantle Oval. This is a big game, an important game for Fremantle because they were not great last week. They're sitting 12th on the ladder, 1-1 after losing by 70 points to Brisbane. Kangaroos are second on the ladder, having smacked Geelong in the last quarter in week 1, and then absolutely smacking Port Adelaide throughout the game the following week. How anybody is going to stop Jasmine Garner and Ash Riddell, I just don't see a world where you can stop them right now. And when those two are flying, Kangaroos are not going to be beaten. It's pretty simple. This will be a tough watch, I think, based on what we saw last week. I expect to see Fremantle bounce back a bit. I was pretty high on them pre-season. I lost a bit of faith in them on the weekend, though, unfortunately. These two teams last met in 2023. Kangaroos won it by 45 points. Back before that, they met twice in 2022, once in a qualifying final. Fremantle won that by 38 points, and then they met earlier in the season in round 5, and Kangaroos won that one by 10. Fremantle were a much better team back then, probably. That was towards the end of their little period where they played really well. They are showing some signs. I had high hopes for them, but we haven't seen that, certainly last weekend. So we'll see how that plays out, but you'd have to think Kangaroos, based on what we've seen from Garner and Riddell, they're going to be very, very tough to beat in this one. Brisbane Carlton. This will be at Brighton Homes Arena to round out the round. Brisbane, no surprise, will be your favourites based on what we saw from them last week. They bounced back after losing by 4 points to Hawthorn by beating Fremantle by 70 points. Carlton have also played Hawthorn and only lost by 8 points. That would suggest that maybe they will be close to this Brisbane team. I'm not confident, though, because I think Brisbane are had a bad game in week 1 and absolutely bounced back in week 2. So I think somewhere in between is what we'll see from Brisbane. Funnily enough, week 1 kicked terribly at goal, 3 goals 11. Week 2 kicked absolutely outstanding, 17 goals 3. So combined, 20 goals 14 looks great, but they were 3-11 in week 1. Carlton, they're 7th on the ladder, they're 1-1. If they were to steal a game like this, you could almost say that they were a team capable of top 8. I don't think they're quite there yet. I don't think they quite have the list to quite get them there with some of the big dogs of the league, but they're a team on the way up. I expect to see them to win maybe 5 games this season. I don't see this being one of them, though. They met in round 6 last year, and the Lions won by 55 points. They met in 2022, and the Lions won by 35 points. 2020 was the last time Carlton beat them. That was by 29 points in a semi-final. Make of it what you will, but I would imagine Brisbane should be too strong. We'll jump into our tips for round 3. We're 13 of 18 for the season. We went 6 of 9 week 1. We went 7 of 9 in week 2. Let's see if we can improve it a bit more this week. We're kicking off Bombers to beat Tigers by 12 points. Adelaide to beat the Giants by 28 points. Saints to be too strong for the Eagles by 8. Swannies by 12 points over the Cats. I think that's going to be a ripper, though. I've gone Power over Suns by 16. Hawks over the Dogs by 18. But that's my little surprise one. I wouldn't be that surprised to see the Bulldogs get the upset, even though the market gives them absolutely no hope. Demons by 25 points over Collingwood. I think they'll be too strong. Kangaroos, you can't tip against them right now. They haven't lost in forever. And Brisbane by 35 points over the Blues is how our tips look for this one. That's another episode of the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're new here, I hope you've enjoyed. We do 2 episodes of the podcast every single week. We do AFLW on Friday. We do AFL Men's on Monday. Plenty of other content all over social media. All Aussie Rules. Plenty of videos on YouTube. Go check it all out. I hope you enjoyed. We'll be back on Monday with a preview of AFL Finals Week 1 coming up next week. So that's what we'll be doing. And we'll be back with AFLW content next Friday to wrap up round 3 and preview round 4. Hope you've enjoyed. Let's jump out of here. Catch us on the next one.